Welcome back everyone to another market recap. If you want to get better at trading, this is essentially the ultimate way to do so. This recap should actually be really valuable. There's a lot I'm going to cover, a lot of valuable trades, a lot of valuable lessons learned, and a lot of trades from a lot of different people. So if you like this type of content, definitely consider subscribing, leaving a like, joining my completely free Discord. The link to that is in my YouTube, as well following me on my Twitter. With that, let's talk about what happened. So going into the morning, I noticed that we actually held this 6-hour fair value gap right here. And this 6-hour fair value gap was also a 12-hour fair value gap and was also a daily fair value gap. So this, to me, seemed like a very possible key level for the bottom of the week. So I just made a short form video on weekly profiles actually, but there's a weekly profile called midweek reversal. It's where the low of the week pushes into a key level on Tuesday. And so my guess was that it was very possible that we were getting this weekly profile where we push into a key level on Tuesday or Wednesday, and then the rest of the week expands to the upside. And so here's that key level I talked about. And so to me, this seemed like a possible buy model, especially because you also sweep out these lows into this fair value gap. So from here, I was considering it to be a possible buy model, but I wasn't sure. But there were a couple other things that confirmed this to me. First of all, we had, let me see if I can pull it up. Where is it? So we had actually SMT with this low from over here. And so this actually gave me a lot of conviction that this could be the low. And then going into the morning, we swept out London's lows here. We swept out Asia's lows, sorry. And at first I thought that this might be seek and destroy because we took out Asia's highs and then Asia's lows. And so I thought it could be seek and destroy, but once we started closing candle bodies higher and higher, I realized that it was more likely that this was probably just a buy model because we held this key level on a Tuesday and we got SMT. So the rest of the week I was thinking, okay, we're probably going to expand to the upside. So from here, I then also noticed that we started to backtest these new day opening gaps. And this also gave me a lot of conviction that the market was possibly going to go higher. You can see how we hold these new day opening gaps perfectly. And so this gave me the idea that we were expanding at least to this next new opening gap, and then this one, and then as well to this one, because we backtested it. And which leads me into the first possible trade you could have taken for the day that I didn't take at first because I didn't think it was that high probability initially. But after looking at it in hindsight, I definitely would have at least tried this and moved my stop loss to break even right here. Because the main reason I didn't want to take this, right? So you had this 30-second inversion delivering from a 1-minute fair value gap. Here you have this fair value gap here. And this 1-minute fair value gap was overlapping with this new day opening gap. So the main reason I was scared to take this, well, one, I actually didn't really see it happen in lifetime, so I didn't really want to take it late. But also, there's this external gap right here. And to me, I'm like, well, like, are we going to break over that? Like, I'm not really sure. But if I had realized all of these things as well, we had SMT with this low here. If I had realized all of these things, this trade is definitely worth taking a shot as long as you move your stop loss to break even right here. Because you don't know for sure if you're going to break this gap. But like with all these confluences, it's definitely possible. So as long as you move stop loss to break even when you get to this gap and then let it run if it runs, then this would have been a nice, honestly, a 3-to-1 if you put your stop loss at the where you're supposed to at the old candles. The old candle, so the stop loss goes at the low of the candle that created the old fair value gap. So this one right here. So that would have been actually a really good trade. Unfortunately, I saw it happen and I didn't take it. I should have taken it. And then I ended up taking a trade that wasn't as good. And, oh, another thing I'll say about this is you'll also note that this was pretty clear AMD. So this was honestly the trade of the day. You had accumulation, you had accumulation range. Then you have clear manipulation below that range. And then you have distribution to the upside. So that made this trade even better, right? That was just like consolidation, manipulation, distribution in line with your bias, which is that this is possibly a larger buy model. So here is that distribution move higher. So I really wish I took this, at least moving my stop loss to break even here, but you know what? That's why I journal and I get better, so that way I can take this next time. Then the next trade that I took, that was actually insane that it even happened like this. So I enter this trade, right, on the 1 minute time frame. So we inverse this on the 1 minute. Now, it's actually, I can't even believe I'm saying this, but within 1 second of me entering this position, having my stop loss right here, I was targeting previous day's high. That was my draw on liquidity. Within 1 second, I instantly got stopped out. I couldn't believe that happened. I swear, the market makers were watching me or something, bro. I'm kidding. But in general, I just was blown away. But the idea of this trade was completely right. I was in line with my bias. I think the main issue here is, although this is a really good inversion in 3 candles, we're delivering from the middle of a consolidation. And that's automatically going to make it lower probability. And then as well, you want to see some manipulation below this consolidation, right? You want to see something swept, and you want to see delivery from some kind of fair value gap. We didn't get any of that. We just got some random inversion, and I guess maybe I was jealous from this trade or something, and I wanted to get an entry, so I entered here thinking this could work, and it could have worked, but if I were to do this again, I would not take this because it's just not high enough probability. I want to see sweep of a low. I want to see delivery from somewhere. Maybe I'll take this on demo next time, but definitely not on an eval or a funded. So lesson learned. Let's move on to the next, and I'll move on to the next day and not take a trade like this again. We then had this, which was actually, funny enough, this was on the 15-second, but it was the best trade of the day. And I didn't even know that it was on the 15-second when I took it. I thought I was taking it on the 30-second. But it was actually so good. So we had pretty clear AMD, right? So it was this, where was it? Let me try and find it. I'll just pull it up over here. So here it is. We had a 1 minute fair value gap, and then we had a 15-second inversion, and then pretty clear highs to be targeted. And as well, you'll note that just with the bias being so bullish, these 15-second scalps a lot of the time will be so much more higher probability because the bias is just so bullish, right? So we have an accumulation range, A, M, into this fair value gap, sweeping these lows, 15-second inversion, and then distribution. This was a just really clean trade, 1-to-1. I took that on one of my evals. And I think that one was the best trade that I took for the day. Now, I wish I took that other one. That one would have been a little better. Here it is. And the only couple things that weren't so good about this trade were um, how far we were in premium, and then we actually had already taken out all-time highs, but it seemed like it was somewhat decent. Also, I took it on the 15 second, or but I meant to take it on the 30. I thought this was a 30-second trade, but now I know that hey, I like if a setup looks good enough on the 15-second, like you can take setups on the 15-second, and they do work. So sweeping out these lows, you can see how um, this was a really solid trade. And you can see right after we inverse this, we went straight up. And this is exactly what you want to see, an inversion in like 3 candles or less. This is the exact signature and price you want to see. So you have these low resistance highs here. I then took, actually let's go over some people's trades on Twitter real quick before I go over my other trades. So Hydra talks about this trade, which happened later on in the day. And the thing about this is, I would have loved to have taken this trade. We got SMT, we swept out this low, we get this inversion. To be honest, I probably would have taken it, but I get off the charts at 11. So I actually got off the charts at 10:50. I should have stayed on till 11. I know I'm supposed to stay on till 11 every single day. That's one of my rules, but I got off at like 10:50. Anyway, should have stayed on till 11, and you can see that we inversed this after getting that SMT, and we went straight to a new all-time high. And Dodgy took this exact same trade, and the reason this is so good is because you have this clear AMD, right, where this is a giant accumulation range, manipulation below this low, and then clear inversion back to the upside. And then you have all of these highs that were low resistance. So let's show that trade over here. Here you have, let's see if we can find it. Yeah, here you have this low getting swept. Now the only thing that's not so good is, yeah, you're pretty high up, and like that you could make arguments to say this might not be like the most best trade, but it's definitely not bad, right? So we get this inversion right here, and then stop loss goes at the low of the old fair value gaps candle, and I would just target this high and all these low resistance highs, and this would have worked out really well. Now I wasn't on the charts for this, but I would honestly, I almost certainly would have taken this if I was on the charts. I'm almost certain, especially on the 2-minute. I mean, the 2-minute it looks a lot better, but then you have to put your stop loss down here. So yeah, this one would have been really good. I took something similar. Let's talk about the one that I took that was similar, but not exactly what you want to see. I mean, it was decent. So we had this LRLR right here. So that's your trend line. LRLR is your trend line of highs that are about to get ran. And this is low resistance. That's why it stands. That's why it's LRLR. It's low resistance. It's gonna get ran through really easily. We sweep out this low, and then within 2 candles, or I guess 4 candles, we inverse this fair value gap. So I entered here on this candle body close above the old fair value gap. Stop loss goes at the low of the candle that created the old fair value gap, and then I targeted this high. I moved my stop loss to break even at the end of the LRLR here, and that's a good way to do that, by the way. If you want a good place to move your stop loss to break even, usually at the end of LRLR is pretty good. And yeah, I basically got break evened on this one. And if I were to redo this trade, what I would do instead is I would take all off at the end of this LRLR and just try and shoot for like a 1-to-1 here. But then again, it'd be kind of hard to shoot for. It wouldn't even be necessarily like 1-to-1 if I took profit here. So if the RR is not good enough, then maybe I won't take it in the future. But this one, I probably could have shot for 1-to-1 and been somewhat okay. So That's what I'll do next time. If I get a trade like this, I'll just shoot for the end of the LRLR, because at the end of the day, like, on the 30-second, this is like a 30-second BPR here, and you can see the market did end up holding this BPR. So I just got to be more careful. I did think that we could just violate it right away, but it didn't quite happen like that. So now I know for the future, and I'll be a little bit smarter. So, and then as well, so that was on my third eval. On my second eval, I took this other one. And this one was like, this one was just as bad as that other one that I took earlier, where it's like, yeah, we're delivering from a 1 minute for value gap. Yeah, we get a 30-second inversion, but like, is this the signature in price you want to see? Not really. You want to see an inversion in a few candles. You want to see clear displacement above the old fair value gap. I mean, you don't get all of these things here. It's just not the right signature in price. Like, sure, we inverse this, but I mean, I just don't think this is a high probability trade at all. And so I would not take this in the future if I had this setup again. So lesson learned. And that was right here, in here somewhere. Then we have this BPR trade from FA, which was a trade that Hydra also took. So I'm going to pull that up right now. So here you can see this BPR trade from FA. Now, at first this actually confused me because I didn't know that this was even a BPR, but on second thought, did FA respond to me? So on second thought, like, so I'm realizing now that like a BPR, so normally a BPR is a bearish and a bullish fair value gap overlapping. But if you think about it, this is technically a BPR on, like, if you were to take this candle and squish it into one, I mean, it's still like, conceptually, it's the same idea. Like this, if just merging these candles into one, it's just like, well, it's essentially still acting like a BPR. So when we retested that, that was FA's entry, stop loss below. I would have put stop loss below here. He got insane RR. Wow. And so this is one of those things where it's like, I didn't even know that this was technically a BPR, because normally a BPR looks normally looks something like, let's see if I can find an example. A BPR normally a BPR normally looks like this. See that? And see how this gets respected? It's this empty area in between with no wicks, this bullish and this bearish for value gap overlapping. That's a BPR. And so normally BPR looks like this. You can see that this actually rejected price. This would have been a good BPR trade. So, but sometimes these BPR trades don't work, so you just have to be really careful. But I like to use them more as a confluence for my trades rather than just solely, like, it's just a nice confluence to have. But if you know what you're doing, like Jan, he really knows what he's doing with BPRs, and he's doing really good with them. So if you know what you're doing, you can take trades with them. And I do take some trades with them if it's a really good setup. But lately I got kind of wrecked with them. Anyway, what I was saying is, technically, like, this conceptually is the same thing. Like, this is a bearish and a bullish fair value gap. This would be a fair value gap if these two candles were squished into one. If you think about that conceptually, right? This would be a fair value gap. So this is still a BPR. And so because we get SMT, this is a pretty high probability. Enter here, and then boom. This was, FA got a 1 to 5 on that. So that was really, really good. Good job, FA. And then you can see here, Hydra took the same trade. And so in the future, you just want to notice this signature in price and know when this is still a BPR, even if it doesn't look like one. I didn't even know that was a BPR, so that's crazy. And then lastly, we have a trade from Camel Trades. It was a break even. It was that same trade, but instead he took he waited for that external gap to get broken. This was on the 1 minute, and the idea was to target this high up here, and it was a really nice trade, but unfortunately it got stopped at break even, and sometimes that happens. But I think this was a really good trade. So nice job, Camel Trades. And then as well, he's showing how basically once this 1 hour for value gap got broken, the bias was clear that we were gonna be bullish. So, and he's also showing we're delivering from that fair value gap. So with that, I will end it here. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.